Okay, so John's number,
Okay. Here.
it's a 415, obviously.
This here.
How you been doing, all right?
Good, yeah. Boy, I thought a lot about you this when I was gone in Hawaii.
Oh,
With
yeah,
all these
how was
waves and
Hawaii?
stuff, and, well, I kind of pounded myself. I stupidly got too sunburned.
Oh, yeah, that
It's just
happens.
ridiculous.
Oh, man, when you get sunburn there.
Oh, yeah. And I knew
couple
better,
of
and I
days.
didn't pay attention.
Pay attention, yeah.
John's number?
415-819-5699.
Okay.
819-5699.
Okay.
Which island were you on?
Maui.
Yeah, it's funny, the woman from Molokai, you know, the timeshare in Molokai that we have with Pacific Trade?
Yeah.
She called me up and she goes, oh, if you want to rent it coming up this December, you know, it's free. She had apparently a tenant living in it, and now he's moved out, so she's renting it out to different vacation people. And she said, I thought of you because you were interested in it a while back. So I'll talk to Clyde about it. Molly and Clyde are not real high going to Molokai, though. Although I think it's a nice place to go. But
I've never been to Molokai.
Well, I think for your first time for Molly to go to...
a little too quiet for her?
Yeah, maybe Maui would be more fun.
We could always take a happy hop. It's pretty, you know, you can even take a boat.
Yeah. We'll talk to her. You know, I mean, they got all this, they got about $3,000 for trade. Might as well put it to good use.
Exactly.
Oops. Who's calling me? Swiss Garage. Hello. Hello, Bruce McGowan speaking. Yes, it is. How are you? Oh, yeah, Nancy. Yeah, I was just wondering if next Monday morning might work out okay. Are you guys... Oh, great. Okay. Hey, just curious, because I noticed my oil light indicator goes on, but not very often. It's gone about 4 times when I'm on real steep turns and going out to the beach, you know, like over Mount Tam. And I'm guessing that maybe the oil might be a little low because that's happening, or what? Why do you think that happens? Well, I haven't because, no, I should. It's not the kind of, I guess the way the Gulfs are made today, you don't, just put oil in normally. You have to, it's kind of a different type of oil, isn't it, than it normally? Okay, can you buy it over the counter at a parts store? Yeah, well, that'd be great if I... Oh, let's do that. I'll come in first thing. Yeah, that would be great, and I should be by about 9 o'clock. Is that okay? That's so much. Thank you so much, Nancy. That takes a load off my mind. Okay, bye-bye. She's such a sweetheart.
Good.
Yeah, I got a great mechanic. Swiss Garage.
Oh, yes, I've heard the name.
Yeah, they're over right off of Magnolia.
Yeah.
A little expensive, but they do a good job.
They do a good job?
Yeah. Yeah, if you got a Volkswagen. It's weird, I don't drive excessively fast or slow or anything, but my oil, all of a sudden the oil lights went on, and I guess I'm burning oil, so you don't want to do that.
I wonder why.
I don't know. She says just bring it over, we'll top it off, and then Monday we'll change it. So, it's been sitting here for a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, I leave that for you guys.
847, I wonder what that is. I don't know what number that is. You hearing this? I don't hear it. Oh, there we go. Now I hear. Now I hear. No, now I don't hear. Oops. Oh, you have to dial 1.
How did I not do that? Okay.
No, don't worry about it.
Let me try this again here. I gotta get new microphones.
Well, your microphones aren't probably bad. It's just probably the connection. Connection. One of these things. I've got a couple of those at home, but I don't use them anymore. And you're welcome to have them if you want. Now I'm hearing it. Yeah, you don't want it to cut out right in the middle of the interview. It just sounds kind of crappy. There you go. That sounds perfect. Doesn't it sound good to you?
Yeah.
Hello, John?
Mailbox is full and cannot accept any messages at this time.
What is going on here? John? All right, let's make sure we got the right number here that I gave you.
819-5699?
819-5699, 415 area code.
Yeah.
Try one more time.
Okay.
I just talked to him. I do. I'll send him a message here.
Could be me.
Yeah, he does. I'll try that next.
Hello?
There we go.
John?
Yeah.
Hi, it's Edward Brown and Bruce McGowan.
Well, hi, Edward.
Hi, how are ya?
Good, man.
Good. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Great. We talk a little baseball and whatever else comes around. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So the way I do this is the first 2 minutes is Bruce and I doing just sort of a little intro, and then we'll talk about how we're going to introduce you into the next segment. I got to save the file, and then just stay with us for a couple of minutes. Okay?
Oh, okay.
All right. All right. So yeah, but you can hear. You'll be able to hear what we're saying. Okay.
Okay.
So here we go. Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Bruce McGowan, longtime sports radio personality. Today's show is going to be special because who's our guest today?
Well, we got San Francisco Chronicle longtime baseball beat writer John Shea, and he's been covering Major League Baseball for over 30 years and has some great stories to talk about. And, of course, we'll talk about the here and now with the playoffs and the World Series. So it should be a fun conversation, topical with this time of the year being baseball's national pastime hitting its peak period.
Excellent. And John will be coming with us coming on in the second segment. And also wanted to let everyone know we're going to be asking a sports trivia question at each commercial break. And the first email with the correct answer is going to win a free vacation to the Lighthouse Resort and Marina, which is located in California. So for those of you out of state, you might
a little bit of a drive.
Yeah,
a little bit of a flight.
drive.
Yeah,
Check them out at lighthouseresortandmarina.com.
Good place to hang out, though.
There you go. And let's see here. Okay, so the trivia theme today is, what's the matter, ump? You blind? So we'll get into some kind
A
of
few guys
interesting...
that have done that before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So there'll be a few questions. I think you're going to get at least one, if not both. There are 2 out of 3 of these.
Oh,
So
great.
they'll be
Well,
challenging, but not
maybe
super
John
tough.
will get them, too.
Maybe John will get
Yeah,
them. Okay. And let's see. We have just another minute before we have to cut out to this segment. So let's see. Bruce, anything you want to mention about John besides?
Well, John, like myself, is a baseball guy. I mean, I will unashamedly say that I love all sports, but baseball, I think it's because it goes on for 7-8 months a year, and if you go to spring training, it's almost like 9 months a year, and you're involved with it every day. You really get to know the people, you get to know the lifestyle, you hear the stories. It's more informal in many respects than the other sports, and I think because of that, it allows those of us who cover it to really get closer to it and to enjoy it more. I think you'll enjoy John's stories. He's going to tell us a little bit about some of the people he's met over the years.
Cool. Very cool. Yeah, baseball's my sport too, so
Yeah.
I'm glad John's going to join us in the second segment. Okay, so this segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are currently yielding 8% secured by real estate. Check them out, pacificprivatemoney.com. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. All right, so that's our first segment. Go ahead and I'll save this.
Well, this is easy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're doing great so far, John.
Did you have a little vacation here, John? Where'd you go?
Nowhere.
Nowhere. You just hung out at home?
Yeah, I,
Nice.
driving here and there, but
You got kids, right?
getting family stuff, and we're doing a whole bunch of house stuff, and
Yeah.
I kind of tuned out for a couple of weeks.
That's good. That's good. Do you have kids? I'm trying to remember. You have a couple kids,
Well,
right?
one, I don't think much different in age than yours, 13-year-old girl,
Oh, sweet. And then another one, older?
and another one older,
A girl or boy?
boy.
Oh, how old is he?
She's 30 now, so he's
Oh, my gosh.
down in Carlsbad.
Wow, what's he doing?
I'm an empty nester, so
Edward's an empty nester,
yeah,
too.
just became one.
Yeah.
Actually, I was
Oh, my.
a little concerned about it, but I'm actually enjoying it.
How's your daughter doing at the
She's doing
at
great.
Chapman? Edward's first child, his son, graduated from Chapman College. Now his daughter is just starting at Chapman
At
College.
Chapman University,
Yeah.
near
Oh.
Disneyland.
Congrats. Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
good stuff. Okay, here we go. Let's get right into this here. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Bruce, introduce our guest, please.
Yes, it's a pleasure to bring aboard a good friend of mine I've known for many, many years and worked alongside. For the San Francisco Chronicle, John Shea has been the baseball beat writer. That means he covers both sides of the Bay, both the National and the American League, the Oakland A's and the San Francisco Giants. Travels to the World Series often, travels to the All-Star Game. And John, I was just reminiscing in my own mind about all the years that you've been involved in covering baseball, and I think we're about the same age. Maybe you're a few years younger, but it goes back to, I believe, the mid or early 1980s when you were working in San Diego, correct?
Yes, indeed. Dick Williams, 84
Oh,
Wall
yeah.
Street. Shoot out many times as a youth.
Yeah, Dick Williams. That's a way to break in. What was it like working with Dick Williams?
After Dick Williams, everything was great.
I mean, why was he so rough, and what made him such an interesting guy?
Well, first of all, he could not manage today. I mean, if you look at Bob Melvin and Bruce Bochy, I mean, they're pretty clean people in terms of what I mean by they always realize that a microphone and a camera are in their face. Where Dick Williams never had that. You know, he comes from the same school. You know, Billy Martin, Williams,
Weaver.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys who came up and all they had to speak with were a few beat writers and rarely even a microphone. Right? I mean, you know, for the traveling beat writers, it was rare that a local guy like yourself would come in and join the pre-game gathering or the post-game gathering. But nowadays, Bochy seems every time he speaks, you know, the local Comcast cameras are pretty much chronicling everything he said. So you really have to watch it. Dick Williams never had to watch anything.
He could say anything unvarnished, and sometimes.
Did he let the expletives fly?
Yeah, I imagine
all
so.
the time.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Bruce Bochy could gather everybody in a little press conference at the ballpark, and all the cameras are ready, and all the beat guys are ready, and just look at them and say one thing. You saw it, you write it.
Yeah.
Didn't Brian Price kind of go off last year?
Brian Price is a guy that Edward just mentioned. Brian Price was with Cincinnati, who's from Marin County, and I guess he had a little problem, didn't he, John, this year with a certain writer or a couple of writers. He just went nuts, which is unusual in this day and age.
Yeah, and I know Brian Price pretty well. At Tamalpais High School, then Cal for 4 years. Got drafted, played more than a decade in the minors, and also or coached more than a decade in the minors, and then got a pretty amazing career actually. He Lou Canella, Dusty Baker, a lot of Bob Melvin, a lot of big time managers he was a pitching coach for. And he was kind of like Rigetti. The manager would be fired, new guy would come in, and Price would still be your pitching coach. And you know, he finally got his opportunity to manage in Cincinnati, and for 2 years now, they've just been killed by injuries. And thankfully, they're giving him another year here to start off. There's a lot of speculation that he'd be fired, but yeah, he's kind of like Melvin and Bochy. He's a real pleasant guy, and that one day where we heard F-bomb, and I don't think that was supposed to come out. Bruce, as you know, you probably have every tape of every shit from Tommy LaSporta to Weaver to Billy Martin, to all these things, and they're all hilarious. But you don't hear that so much anymore because they're trained. They're like I said, they're cleaner. They know a camera is always on it. But in this particular instance, it was just with beat writers, and one of them had the microphone on, and as you do, right? I mean, just to make sure what he says you have correctly. But in this case, unfortunately, it got out, and apparently it was a mistake because apparently the beat writer sent it to the Sports Center, and the Sports Center didn't realize that it wasn't the beat writer's intention to get it out publicly, and that it was on the website for less than an hour or something like that, and then somebody picked it up, and before they could take it off, it was everywhere. So whatever, it happened, and he regretted it, but it was kind of a black eye, and really unusual for Price to say something like that. I mean, it's almost as if you hear that from Bochy or Melvin. I mean, it's just kind of nuts, and it was just an off day for the guy.
Well, John, what do you think about with the players? So I'll give you an example. Okay, so like Dick Williams say, well, it'd be hard for him to do it today because with all the expletives flying and stuff. Do you think going on behind the scenes, like what's going on in the locker room, do you feel like some of the players nowadays have to be treated a little bit with kid gloves compared to the way they were before because of all the political correctness or whatever else we want to call it?
yeah, why are Bostein and Melvin so popular and, and hang around for a long time? Well, they're very good communicators. They keep the clubhouse in check. They keep the morale high. Dick Williams couldn't care less about any of that. I mean, he'd go seasons without talking to particular players. Jim Flannery said so himself, the former third base coach of the Giants. And then when Dick finally retired, I remember the quote from Flannery, now that he's retired, I'm going to run him over with a truck.
And Tim Flannery's a nice guy, so Dick Williams must have really. I only had a few not run-ins, I only had a few encounters with Dick Williams, but I agree with you, John. You were dealing with him on a regular basis. He was a really prickly character who just did not like having to deal with the media.
Or even the players. He didn't think it was.
Yeah.
I mean, he wasn't seen in the clubhouse. He wasn't. I mean, there's no way you would tell a guy, Kurt Bavacco, you're not playing tomorrow, or Darby, I'm going to stick you out of the game. He would just do it. There's no communication. Melvin texts these guys for the, for the next game, gives them, half a day notice before the players go to sleep, and say, okay, here's what I'm going to do with the lineup tomorrow. You're in it, but then you're going to get a couple of days rest. We'll tell the bullpen guy, don't worry, you're off tomorrow, only in yesterday, whatever. And all these players know exactly what the rules are.
Yeah, Williams was.
There were no rules like that. You show up, expect to play, no.
Yeah.
Williams, he was a player, wasn't he?
He was a pretty good player, not a great player, kind of a journeyman, but he really cut his teeth as, his first great job was taking over the Boston Red Sox, and I believe, John, wasn't it, in '67 they won the pennant, but I believe that was Williams' rookie year as a manager, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's when he came in, and he was a guy, if not a great history of, not Bruce Bochy Hall of Fame stuff.
Maybe he has a chip on his shoulder all the way from '67.
Well, interesting story about him too is that Carl Yastrzemski, who I'm sure you dealt with from time to time later in his career, I know I dealt with him a little bit late in his career, and he was the ultimate curmudgeon. And Carl Yastrzemski loved Dick Williams. They had their moments, but he said, I respected that guy. I loved playing for that guy. And I think, if you were from the kind of the old school that Dick Williams was from, maybe you got along with that kind of line of thinking. But as you mentioned, John, in this day and age, especially since the 1980s on, players just aren't that way anymore.
Yeah. And, of course, he had a success with the A's. And then after that, some tough years here and there. And that was back when pretty much had to win 100 games to get to the postseason. I mean, you could win 90 with the Expos and just not go anywhere. But nowadays, high 80s, low 90s will get you in.
Yeah, the Giants won a World Series with a team that won, I think, 80. Did they win 88 out of one of those three championship years? They had only 88 wins, I believe.
Oh, well, one of Bochy's teams, San Diego, won 82 games in the playoffs. And
82 games. Jeez,
that's not good. So I go from Dick Williams to Larry Bowen.
Oh, my God, there's a loose cannon, huh?
Keyboards, and Bowen, who was a mini Williams.
Yeah. Hey, John, stay with us. We're going to cut to a commercial break here. Okay, so our trivia theme is, what's the matter, You blind?
Is that Italian or something?
Yeah.
What's the matter, you, eh?
What's the matter, you? Yeah. Okay, so we were mentioning the Cincinnati Reds. So here's the Cincinnati Reds question. Which Cincinnati Reds pitcher, and John, if you know the answer, don't answer it now. When we come back from break, we'll let you answer it. Which Cincinnati Reds pitcher who did not pitch in the game was ejected while sitting on the bench in Game 3 of the 1970 World Series? The first email with the correct answer is going to win that free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Email Edward at sportsecon101.com the answer to that question. All right? Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back.
And I'm trying to think who was on that team. That was sort of the beginning of the Reds' great machine teams. But that's funny that when you think about the great Cincinnati Reds teams, you don't think so much about pitching. You think about, Tony Perez and Johnny Bench and David Concepcion and Joe Morgan, Pete Rose. You have any idea on that one, John? I'm lost.
No.
Okay.
I'm going to say
you'll know the name though.
I'll throw out a name.
And John, no looking on the internet right now.
Well, that's what all the listeners are doing, right?
Yeah,
well, that's true.
Right. That's true. Yeah. The great thing about this show, it's taped, and then it's played. What is it, this weekend?
Yeah, it'll play this Saturday.
And then it's also,
Okay.
and then it's on iHeartRadio. How soon is it available on that?
You know, I think they're about a week.
About a week, but
Yeah.
but it's archived, so you can listen to it
Yeah,
anytime.
yeah,
You just go to Sports Econ 101 on your Google, and it just pops up.
Yeah,
it's great. Now we've been doing this for about 3 years.
So what year did you say?
1970.
1970.
So the
Okay.
World Series against Baltimore.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
All
here
right,
we go.
All right.
All right. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Again, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. We asked this first trivia question about what's the matter, you let's see here, or what's the matter,
What's the
Blind.
matter?
So
Yeah.
that's the college I graduated from.
Yeah.
What's the matter, you?
What's the matter?
Okay. Which Cincinnati Reds pitcher who did not pitch in the game was ejected while sitting on the bench in Game 3 of the 1970 World Series?
And I'm guessing it was somebody fairly well known, not some obscure pitcher. Clay Carroll?
Yes.
I thought it was
Very
Clay Carroll was an excellent relief pitcher. He had a notorious red ass, as they call it. We love that term, don't we, John? Red ass. What did that?
We do, and then you tell that to a buddy of yours and say, what does that mean?
Yeah.
What the heck does that mean exactly? Hey, you moved up to the Bay Area during right in time to catch the Giants' great run with Roger Craig and Kevin Mitchell and Will Clark, and I really loved covering that team. They weren't the best team in the world, but they were always competitive. They won a division title in '87. They won the pennant in '89. What was it like covering guys like Hackman Leonard and Chili Davis?
One flap down.
Yeah, one flap down. Roger Craig, the old cowpoke. I mean, that must have for you that must have been a lot of fun because you were doing some traveling with them as well as the A's at that time, who also had amazing teams with La Russa and Ricky Henderson and Eckersley and McGuire and Canseco. What was it like covering baseball in the 1980s at that time when those two teams were just among the best in baseball?
Yeah, covering Hackman, I think, prepared me to cover Barry Bonds.
Really? Now, what was it? Why was Hackman so
you can
tough?
cover Hack, you can cover Barry.
Yeah, what was it about Hack that was difficult?
Well, he tried to intimidate you, and you had to learn early that if you were a wimp and bought into his intimidation, he'd own you.
Yeah.
Stood up for yourself and challenged him. And I was a younger guy then, and I kind of watched how Nick Peters did. The late great Nick Peters, who probably covered more Giant games than anybody in terms of beat writing.
What did Nick do to deal with him?
And the thing about Nick was, sometimes you have that act mentality in the clubhouse.
Yeah.
Where one guy's talking and everybody crowds around him. Nick would kind of go off and speak the untold story elsewhere, and while everybody else was in the mainstream quotes, he would, challenge Hackman and ask him about an error or a strikeout, and Leonard was fiery, but Nick was equally as fiery. So, there might have been a confrontations, but at the end of the day, he delivered. He kind of trusted the person asking the question.
And one thing I noticed about Hackman was that he grew up. He told me this once. He said, "I watched Frank Robinson because when he came to the Giants, Frank Robinson was the manager, and Frank Robinson was a no-nonsense guy, kind of like Dick Williams, but a little more agreeable, a little not quite as rough around the edges, and he was rough to deal with too. He'd chew you out if he didn't like a question. But Hack, I think, stole some things from Frank, to use a nice term, in a good way, and I think that worked well for Jeffrey. And he told me in later years when he really matured and softened and got out of the game that the reason he did that was that he just wanted to get rid of the guys who were bullshitters. Pardon my expression.
You can't say that.
Can't say that on the air, so you have to edit that one out. But isn't that pretty much the truth with Hack? Because I think Hack was pretty much a straight shooter. If we're talking about Jeffrey Leonard, who many of our listeners may not remember Jeffrey Leonard, but he was a pretty good player in the 1980s.
Yeah, he's not a Hall of Famer, not the Bonds type overall player, but man, when he hit those 4 home runs and won the MVP trophy on a LCS team that lost to St. Louis in '87, it said an awful lot about the guy. And maybe he and Al Rosen, the general manager, didn't see eye to eye because he didn't last long. But he was a former Dodger and kind of a true Giant. The Candlestick faithful really supported this guy, and because he was just so unusual. the way he wore his cap backwards. You know what? Everybody Ken Griffey Jr. Hey, is he the first guy to wear his cap backwards as VP? No, it was Hackman. And I think they were teammates Griffey's last year, maybe Griffey's first year, and maybe a lot of what Griffey did he got from Hack. A lot of what Hack got he got from Frank Robinson.
Chili Davis too, kind of thrown in there.
Yeah, well, Chili was such an agreeable, likable guy. He's been a coach for us. It's interesting you mentioned. You're right about Hack and the connection with Griffey, because I remember going to spring training Griffey's rookie year, and I went up to Griffey to get an interview. And you remember when he first broke into the game, John, Ken Griffey Jr. was a little suspicious and kind of guarded. He later became much more open. But I got an entree with him because Hack came up to him and said, "This guy's okay." And I thought that was really nice. I mean, I always felt like Hackman was kind of my friend, and it wasn't easy to become his friend.
Yeah, and that clubhouse was somewhat divided because you had Jeffrey Leonard on one side and Will Clark on the other. There's a famous brawl between the two.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Philly when they took each other down, and the '89 postseason, Will said some things, and Leonard, wasn't with the Giants anymore, had to respond to some things that Will said. That's kind of the way it was back then. I mean, it wasn't. Remember, the Oakland A's fought all the time. They won. The Giants, even though Roger Craig oversaw it all, the hum baby thing, and everything's hunky-dory, well, it really wasn't all the time because there were just so many different personalities on that team. Like you said, Chili Davis, who, the coach is just wonderful to speak with. But, as a player, sometimes these guys, they don't, I mean, how many professions are there in life where people come in before work and then after work to ask you how it's going to go and then ask you how it went.
Every day.
Well, in fact, I was going to ask you guys, but this is a question.
In their face, and it's enough. And a lot of these guys don't want to speak about how hot they are at the plate. Because the more they talk about it, the more it's in their head.
Yeah, they get suspicious or superstitious.
Okay, so John, I got a question. Actually, this is for both of you guys. All right, you and Bruce. How do you guys approach a situation where you got to ask someone about an error? Okay, well let's take a couple of games ago. Actually, first game of the World Series, Cespedes should have caught that ball.
The ball that became the inside the park home run for Alcides Escobar,
which
right?
They should have charged an error because I think it hit his hand.
Yeah.
But anyway, so how do you approach Cespedes? Because he's going to be thinking.
It's a good question. I mean, I'd let John answer that one first, and I'll give my point of view. But John, I'm sure because you've had to do this probably more than I have. How would you approach an athlete, especially some guy in a tough situation who might just happen to be a little prickly too?
Well, the easy way is to say, hey, what happened on that error? It's pretty simple. But with Cespedes, he happens to have an interpreter. His English is a little better, but not good enough to speak to English-speaking reporters. So there's always an interpreter, and with an interpreter, there's always a pause. Even though he understands exactly what you're saying, it's almost easier sometimes. But you don't always. You're not always confident with what the interpreter is coming back at you with. Sometimes you check it with your Spanish-speaking reporter friends afterward. But anyway, Cespedes or anybody else, what happened there? No beating around the bush, no flowery questions. Well, you almost won that game, and the seventh or eighth question is what happened there. You go right at him. He expects it. I mean, the best ball players, for us, are those who are stand-up guys. Jeff Kent. Well, you can say all you want about it, but he was a stand-up guy. Rod Beck. I mean, just a wonderful stand-up guy. Never, ever, ever blew up the media. The worst games I remember in Atlanta, he always used to get it up. He was always there at his locker. A lot of these younger guys, I got to say, maybe they're not pressed. Maybe they're not. They just don't think it's important. But I tell you, veteran teammates love to see young players stand at their locker when they messed up the game and deliver the goods, because they know that when we were younger players, they had to do it themselves. But being accountable is part of the gig, and it's part of being a good teammate.
It's interesting. You mentioned some of these names we've talked about. One guy that comes prominently to mind, who was kind of an interesting guy to talk to because he was always full of quotes, was Reggie Jackson. I'm sure you dealt with him. And he retired in '87, and I'll never forget his last game was with the Oakland A's, and he got a base hit in his last at bat. And afterwards, we all knew it was his last game. He hadn't said, I'm going to retire, but we all knew he was. So I asked him, I said, how did it feel to get a hit in your last at bat in the major leagues? And he looks at me and goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you're retiring after this year. He goes, I am? And I said, yeah, well, that's what we've been led to believe. He goes, who led you to believe that? And I said, well, it's been common knowledge, hasn't it, Reggie? And he goes, I'm not announcing my retirement to you. Not right here. He says, when I decide to make an announcement, I'll make that announcement, and I'll let you know about it too. But you're a nice fella, but I'm not announcing to you. As soon as I let everybody know, you'll be the first. And then he said, you'll be the first MF I call.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you must have had some encounters with him, I bet, huh? Did you ever have any interesting moments?
Were you the first he called?
No. He always wanted to know who you were, first of all.
Oh, yeah.
He always looked down at your
Credential. Yeah.
And say, okay, and if the paper wasn't big enough, he wouldn't talk to you.
No, that's one thing. That's one thing about Hackman Leonard. I was doing some freelance work, and the first time I ever introduced myself to him, he grabbed my credential and sort of pulled it, yanked it, looked at it real closely. He goes, "Who are you? What do you work? Who do you work for?" And he looks at me and he smiles and he goes, "I'll talk to you later."
You guys cracked me up.
He was a piece of work.
He was a piece of work. Okay, Hey guys, ready to cut to our second commercial break. Oh, I love these stories. Okay, we're talking about trivia question is, what's the matter, you blind? That's more of a question than a statement.
Yes.
Which Cardinal pitcher was ejected from Game 7 of the 1985 World Series?
Oh, I got that one. I'm sure John does too.
And was followed by manager Whitey Herzog 1 minute later.
Oh, there's another piece of work. I got to ask John about him because I had some encounters with him firsthand. Not pleasant.
Okay, we all remember Game 7 of the 1985 World Series. So, and of course, we've got the Kansas City Royals back in it again. All right. The first email with the correct answer wins that free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Again, which Cardinal pitcher was ejected from Game 7 of the 1985 World Series and was followed by manager Whitey Herzog 1 minute later? Stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101.
I think it was actually Game 6, though, wasn't it? Because I think they lost that game. No, maybe it was Game 7. I remember what happened was it was Joaquin Andujar, and he was ticked off, rightly so, because Don Denkinger made the wrong call. In today's world, they would have reversed that. And John, wasn't that the 6th game? Because
that was Game 6.
That was Game 6. Okay. But he was kicked out of Game 6. Is what I'm saying.
Boy, I have here Game 7.
Well, we'll have some fun with it.
Okay.
I'll let John do it. Because John, were you covering that World Series?
No.
Okay, I was going to say maybe because I know you, Chronicle used to send you on the road from time to time to cover World Series.
Right. No, I covered 20 World Series or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And now it's just every other year.
Were you and Barry Bloom sort of working on different newspapers when you were in San Diego, or were you on the same paper?
Yeah, different newspapers. I sat next to him for much of that time. He was at the Evening Tribune.
There you go.
San Diego Tribune, and I was at the North County Times.
Yeah, Barry always used to tell me he had the ideal job because he didn't have to get his story in so quickly because he didn't have a morning paper, so he could really.
Well, yeah, he and I both had afternoon papers.
Oh, that's the best. Goose Gossage.
Goose.
Later, he pretty much opened up.
Yeah, he's another guy.
Okay, guys, ready? Here we go. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Bruce McGowan. Here's our second trivia question. These guys knew it right away. Which Cardinal pitcher was ejected from, now I have here Game 7. Could have been Game 6, but we have Game 7 here for the question. 1985 World Series and was followed by manager Whitey Herzog 1 minute later.
No, I'll let John answer that. I know the answer, but I think John, I'm pretty sure knows the answer too.
Now, are we supposed to answer this?
Yeah, go ahead. Now you can answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Beckinger, he was the first base on, I believe he played Game 7. And, everybody was upset at him because, the play at first base. But future Oakland A, right?
That's right. Joaquin Andujar. And he always had that famous quote, "You never know." You never know.
Well, the next question that I'm going to ask next time happens to be the 1919 World Series. So a little before.
Well, here's the thing about Joaquin Andujar. On that play, it was a close play at first base. I believe he was covering first. He stepped on the bag and beat the runner. And Don Denkinger said, no, the runner was safe. And the replay clearly showed that the runner was out. But, in those days they didn't have replay. And it turned out to be the critical moment in the game, and it kept the rally alive. The Royals won that game. and went on to win the World Series. So that
What, 11-0 the next
yeah,
game. I wonder if they can reverse that game now.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't do it anymore.
Can't do now?
No. But now you were talking about some of the great characters. Another one you just mentioned in between, or you talked about him briefly, was Goose Gossage, the big hulking right-handed closer, who was a part of those San Diego teams in the mid-1980s that were pretty good. And we should mention Tony Gwynn, the late great Tony Gwynn. What a great guy, John. Being around him every day, that must have just been like a breath of fresh air, because just the nicest guy. He loved to talk baseball, and he would talk for hours.
Still, I mean, he was probably the first, but he's still the best guy I ever dealt with on a day-to-day basis in baseball. He and I went to the same college at the same time, and kind of followed him through the minors as short as it was, and then he broke in. His first full season was '84, the year they went to the World Series, the number 2 hitter. But even in college, covered him. He played basketball, very good point guard. He played against Danny Ainge of BYU, Danny Grange, Tom Chambers of Utah. Back at that time, Ace Manning, a Warrior, was also on that Utah team. But Glenn held his own, 5'10", 5'11", afro, made him about 6'3". That's an old Chick Hearn line. And he's just so quick. People remember him as a ball player, maybe gaining a few pounds over the years, obviously, but it's just a pleasant guy. And even as a sophomore in college, he sat there in the locker room and held court with veteran scribes in San Diego County. And once he made it to the big leagues, he didn't backtrack. He remained media friendly, fan friendly, teammate friendly. The ultimate ball player, and what a ball player he was.
And he stayed with one team all that time, and all those years with one team.
Yeah. You might remember, the only guy who ever popped off about him, the only teammate who said anything bad about him was your friend Clark.
Will Clark?
Jack Clark. Jack played.
Oh, Jack Clark.
With Tony.
Jack Clark, yeah, because he played with Tony Gwynn.
Guy, called him the guy who just there.
Jack Clark said that. Huh? I did not know that. Why would Jack do that?
You bat nearly 400 every year. I mean, how selfish is that? I mean, he's hit the ball to all fields. But it was just, with Jack, as you know.
Jack is a funny guy. For those that don't remember Jack Clark as a guy off the field, on the field, of course, you remember he was a clutch hitter, but he had a tendency to say things sometimes that he later regretted. I understand. A couple of years ago, he was doing a radio show, and he said something really nasty about somebody, and as a result, got fired. So Jack was,
I believe,
in St. Louis, which is not a good. But that was where he made his mark with the Cardinals. But boy, you had to. We haven't even touched on the Oakland A's of the late '80s, which had, of course, Rickey Henderson, and Rickey Henderson to me was one of the more fascinating. What a great player, but also just as an interview subject, John, you almost had to. Have a book to figure out what he was saying, because he used phrases and words that I'd never heard of, like the Rickey Rally and things like that. You remember some of those little funny stories?
A book out of
Well, funny you mentioned Rickey in a book, because I did write his autobiography.
That's right. Now, how did you sit down with him? How did you get that? Every time I tried to get Rickey to do an interview, I mean, away from the game after his playing days, he'd always say he'd be available, and I never could reach him. How did you guys must have really spent some time on this?
Yeah, it was probably 25 hours of interviews, one off season. He was still in his prime. I mean, it was a full book, his autobiography, but he was coming off his MVP year in '90, so it was published in '91. And Off Base Confessions of a Thief, which he was a big deal with the Yankees. He was a big deal the first go around Billy Ball and the A's. The late '70s and the early '80s, '81 in particular, and then he went to the Yankees, then he came to the A's, and turned a very good team into a great team in '89. He showed up in June, and they just rolled to the World Series, swept the Giants in '90, heavily favored over the Reds. I don't know what happened still with that.
Yeah, I'm still upset about that one.
Well, he was the thing.
We kind of hit it off, and he trusted me. And back then, Rickey didn't trust many guys.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, what about a book? And eventually he said, yeah, okay. And we met, 8-9 times, like I said, maybe 25 to 27 hours. in the off season and put it all together. And he and I still talk about finishing it up because that was only about half of it.
Yeah. Oh, he took it playing forever.
Until his mid-40s.
It was amazing. And he had so many other characters. Dennis Eckersley always struck me as a guy, win or lose, and most of the time he'd be saving a game. But if he lost the game, like when he gave up that home run to Kirk Gibson, I remember after the game he just stood there and answered every question over and over and over. And what a stand-up guy Dennis Eckersley was.
When I see a young pitcher up the media or refuse to talk or just blows off these simple questions, the easy questions, right? I think of Eckersley, the great Eckersley, gives it up to what's Eckersley known for? He's in the Hall of Fame. Everybody has the big video, Willie, the catch of Vic Wertz, the polo ground. Everyone in the Hall of Fame has the moment, but the moment for Eck is the one he gave it up.
Yeah.
And like you said, wave after wave of reporters, never left his locker. The ultimate stand-up moment in baseball history, perhaps. I mean, gave up the home run, the biggest in Dodger history, one of the top 10 home runs of all time, right? You see it all the time on the MLB Network.
Yeah.
And
he just kept saying the slider didn't slide, right?
He could have said, you know what, my arm hurts, I'm going to go out.
Actually, my
family's waiting for me.
That's right.
I've answered that question. Or, you hear all this stuff. But Eckersley was so sincere. He gave it up. He knew it was history. He knew he was a part of it. And it was Game 1 of the World Series, and he was just spectacular.
What's interesting about that, too, is I remember I got a broadcast of that game on the radio. Bill King's call is just tremendous, the A's great radio announcer. And he said right before that pitch, he says, Eckersley has not thrown that backdoor slider. And that was the pitch he threw. It was a good pitch, but Gibson admitted that was the pitch he was looking for. And Eckersley said, he just guessed right. And
I thought you said that it didn't slide.
No, it was a backdoor slider. It did what it was supposed to. You watched the replay, and it dropped, and Gibson just went down and hit it, and pretty much hit it with one hand. And it was an amazing piece of...
And 1 foot.
And boy, and now you talk about a guy, a rough character. We've talked about Kirk Gibson on this show.
Yeah.
What a difficult guy to deal with. Did you ever have any problems with him, John?
Oh, yeah. I would go up to him and look at me and don't analyze me, walk away.
Yeah. Without even asking him a question, right?
Yeah.
Do you guys...
Didier was the scout who told Gibson in the hitters meeting before Game 1 that if it reaches a certain count, look for the backdoor slider. And Gibson, you see him stepping out of the box, and he said at that moment he remembered what the scout told him.
Interesting.
And whether that's true, it might have been fabricated, but they
it's a great story.
Right in the box.
Well, do you remember the game? He was playing for Detroit. He's playing third base.
Oh, yeah.
And then remember that there was a pop up, and for whatever reason, the third base umpire, I guess, is just looking up and not paying attention, and gets in the way, and Gibson hits him, and then the ball drops, and he just chews this umpire out one way up and down the other.
Oh, and he had a rough. Apparently, I did not know this, John. Maybe you know this, but I don't know if Edward does it. Kirk Gibson had a very rough upbringing. His dad terrorized him. He was kind of an abused kid.
Jerry West was the same way.
Some guys make it out of that. And Kirk, to his credit, has done very well with his life. He's not a bad person.
His first year with the Dodgers, his teammates played a practical joke on him in spring training, and he just wasn't buying it at all. And he just chewed out everybody and went after everybody. That kind of set the tone for that idiot.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Well,
we're not fooling around here, dude.
Yeah, he was a college. He was a college linebacker, I think, at Michigan State, wasn't he? So he had that football. Yeah, he had that football mentality.
The manager, and I said, really? He's a media-friendly guy.
Oh man. Well, he's right out of the old school. Dick Williams, Frank Robinson, rough character. I mean, the thing about Kirk Gibson was he was bright. He would tell you what was on his mind if he was in the mood to tell you. But he was he was really rough to get to know. I mean, it was not a friendly situation.
It reminds me of Dick Butkus a little bit.
Well, Dick Butkus is a big friendly guy, though. Yeah.
But I mean, just that real aggressive.
Yeah, Kirk Gibson was not a friendly guy, off or on the field. But I guess that's how he.
So for every Kirk Gibson, you look at the Giants clubhouse now, and it seems they're more well-rounded. I mean, Lester Posey doesn't know anything except for drug testing. We've got nothing to argue about. they're all on Twitter. They all follow the beat, right? They all know who you are before they get there. And the 2014 team that had all those rookies in the postseason, 4 or 5 of them, they all knew me before they got there. It takes a year or two before they.
Isn't that great though?
When it becomes like Duffy and
Joe
Panic.
Panic. Yeah.
They say, "Hey, John, how you doing?" I'm looking at myself. Really? You know who I am? It's like and it's amazing. They're just super nice.
Yeah.
It's like wow. I mean.
Well, they had some characters there with the panda and Tim Lincecum, the freak, and the giraffe they called Brandon Bell. I mean, they had a nice group of guys, and I think that starts from the top with Bruce Bochy. It's just a much easier clubhouse to maneuver through than the Barry Bonds days with Jeff Kent and Barry Bonds snarling at each other from across the room.
You said they had it. Like, do you know the past tense? Is this era over?
I hate to say it. I wonder if it is. I mean, Sandoval's gone. Lincecum may be gone. I mean, what's your outlook on the Giants for 2016? How much different of a team are they going to be?
Well, that's a great question because Bobby Evans is the first offseason as the guy, and
the general manager,
or the guy that people anticipate because they say, well, Sabian's still pulling the string, and I'm not sure if I'm on board with that. I think Bobby Evans has a lot more power than people think, and I don't think he's going to blow it up because you just look at like the run differential. The Giants are a lot of playoff teams. The plus minus in the run category, and the injuries obviously with Hunter Pence is as bad as the Posey one was in 11. I mean, he missed so 4 months. I think he played 52 games.
Yeah, but the pressure's on them because it's an even year, so they gotta win.
They're supposed to win it all.
Yeah, John, stay with us. We got to cut to our last commercial break here. Okay, so here's our trivia question. What's the matter, you blind? The 1919 World Series was to become the most scandalous in history with the rigging by some Chicago White Sox players. Of course, called the Black Sox, right? Which Cincinnati Red player, again another Cincinnati player, was ejected in Game 5 while coaching from the third base box?
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
All right, so stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. We'll be back with some closing comments. All right.
It's got to be something out of 8 Men Out, the movie, huh? John, you ever see 8 Men Out, the original movie?
Oh yeah, I like that movie.
Yeah, good film. I mean, it's an interesting cast. You got John Cusack in there. You've got I'm trying to remember some of the names of the characters. Charlie Sheen was in that movie.
Yeah, he sure was.
The guy who played the Eddie Seacott was best actor in the movie about Edward R. Murrow, David Strathern.
Yeah, I like that guy.
And it's interesting about David Strathern. He went to Redwood High School. He's from Marin County. Yeah. I did not know this until I saw the Redwood Hall of Fame, and his name was in there. And I go, wait a second, is that the same guy? And sure enough, it was. So he's about 4 years older than me.
So, John, what we'll do is we'll answer the trivia question, and we'll bid you adieu. How's that?
Bid you adieu. Hey, thanks so much, John. This was a lot of fun. Really appreciate it. We didn't even talk about the present time, but that's okay.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on again.
One of the problems of talking about the present time is we're a few days behind.
Yeah,
so.
it'll happen on Saturday. By then, Friday's game will happen.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Really appreciate you doing this, though.
Thank you. Sure. Okay. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, along with Bruce McGowan. Here was our third trivia question. The 1919 World Series was to become the most scandalous in history with the rigging by some Chicago White Sox players. Which Cincinnati Red player was ejected in Game 5 while coaching from the third base box?
I haven't a clue. You got any idea on that one, John?
Arnold.
Who was that?
He was the mobster who...
Arnold Rothstein, the mobster who set the whole thing. I'm going to just say Dutch Ruther.
Guy named Jimmy Smith.
God, what a common name. Oh, wait, Jimmy Smith, the only Jimmy Smith I know was a famous jazz organist, Jimmy Smith.
No, I don't think it's the same guy.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, John Shea from the San Francisco Chronicle, thank you so much for joining us on Sports Econ 101. We'll have to have you on again, maybe after the World Series, and we'll have to talk about what
baseball hot stove winter league, as they call it. I love that expression, the baseball hot stove winter league. By the way, before we let you go, John, where did that come from anyway? Is that just from the old days of baseball? An expression that we all like to hear?
That comes probably from the old 1920s, 1930s sports writing, which was great. I mean, the New York Times, I think it was the New York Times ran a story the other day after the Mets finished up their series victory over the Cubs and rewrote it to the style of the 20s and 30s writing.
Oh, I love it.
Like a swatted a four bagger and all this.
Yeah.
And some of it was pretty clever.
The old fall classic.
There you go.
I'd recommend that.
John
All right.
Shea, thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, Evan. Thank you.
Bye.
Good having you on. Yeah, John's a good guy. I've had the privilege of working with him alongside him for many years. It's been fun.
All right, here's our thoughts for the day. Willie Mays said, baseball is a game, yes. It is also a business. But what's truly is disguised comeback. For all its gentility, its almost leisurely pace, baseball is violence under wraps.
Willie said that?
Willie said that.
Wow.
And someone else said, never give up. Keep your thoughts and your mind always on the goal. One of the secrets of success is to refuse to let temporary setbacks defeat you.
I couldn't agree more.
All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective, giving away more free vacations for answering sports.
I like those free vacations.
Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Good night, America.
So long.
Another one bites the dust.
Another one.
Oh, I gotta go pee. Gotta pee. Gotta pee.